Hey, what's up? I'm Casey and this is CaseyReacts. Do you ever have those burning questions that you just need answered? Well, you should try and post it to r/Reddit and see what people have to say. I'll be going through the top questions of the week and looking through seeing what people's answers are. It's always cool to see the variety of answers everyone has, so let's get right to it. In what movie did you relate more with the antagonist? Roy Batty in Blade Runner. Though you're supposed to, that's kind of the point. By the end of the movie, the robot antagonist has shown far more humanity and empathy than the human protagonist. Gordon Ramsay from Kitchen Nightmares, though I really don't think he'd be considered an antagonist because he's going there to help the restaurants. Yeah, he can put on the bad dude act, but he's not really doing anything wrong, he just really has a high standard for kitchens and restaurants. If anyone in those shows were the antagonist, I would call it the restaurant owners, the ones that are refusing to work with them. Colonel Hummel in The Rock. He was pushed to a position where he had no choice than to abduct tourists and make a simple demand. Pay the soldiers who died in clandestine missions. First of all, if you've ever seen the movie, it's amazing. If you've never seen the movie, once again, it's amazing. You need to watch The Rock. I know that Nicolas Cage movies can be very hit or miss. This one's a hit. This one was absolutely fantastic. Sean Connery did an amazing job in here. And that was his only demands as well, was, hey, I want these soldiers who died to get paid. Or rather, I want you to have them pay the families because they died in these wars, fighting your wars. I mean, yeah, he threatened to kill everybody with chemical warfare, but still a worthy reason. Tai Lung. All he wanted to do was to impress his adopted father. Tai Lung. You knew I was the Dragon Warrior. You always knew. But when Oogway said otherwise, what did you do? What did you do? Nothing. You weren't not meant to be the Dragon Warrior. That was not my fault. Not your fault? Who filled my head with dreams? Who drove me to train until my bones cracked? Who denied me my destiny? What I ever did, I did to make you proud. Tell me how proud you are, Shifu. Tell me! Tell me! Yeah, Tai Lung from Kung Fu Panda was a very good antagonist. I mean, granted, my favorite villains are the ones where you can put yourself in their shoes and say, yeah, no, they're not too far off the reserve. I would have done something very similar. I mean, think about it. If someone told you that you were going to do something very specific for your entire childhood, would you not get super excited and super depressed whenever they told you that you can't do it? All in all, though he went about it the wrong way, he still had very good reason to be mad at Shifu. Now, personally, my favorite movie antagonist has to be the Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming. I think his situation is very relatable. He thinks he has a big payday coming up to clean up after the events of the Avengers. Tony Stark rolls in and says, yeah, no, we're taking over this, buddy. But nice trucks. And then just leaves them. Doesn't even, cover the cost of the trucks, buying out the contract or anything. I mean, the guy's just trying to keep his family fed. So, kind of makes sense that he would go steal alien tech and start going the villain route because, well, if the heroes aren't going to be helping the regular Joes of the city, well, he's got to help himself. Makes sense. What's good as a hobby, but terrible as a profession? Well, I'll start right off by saying anything. If you have a hobby and you enjoy it, try not to turn it into a profession because you will lose literally everything that you ever cared for in that hobby. If you like playing video games, don't be a competitive gamer. You're going to lose any and all joy out of it. Yeah, you might get a nice little, rise of endorphins if you win, but turning your hobby into a job just makes it another thing you have to do every single day. You can't really do it because you enjoy it. For me personally, I love cooking. I would never want to be a chef because that's my relaxation time. I don't want to go to work, then come home and do my work to relax. It's silly. Yo-yo. Yeah, no, that's definitely not really something you'd want to do as a career. Can't really see too many people doing that as a hobby either. Unless they're in elementary school and you have those really cool yo-yo trick people come by. Still have no idea how they actually made a career out of that. Baking. I love to make bread and cakes, but on my time. I couldn't imagine having to wake up at 3 a.m. every day and start making bread. Yeah, absolutely. It has the same energy as me with cooking. Just not as fun if you turn it into a career. Hobbyist collecting. I've known two people who grew up loving comic books, so they opened their own comic book stores as adults. It's not just that 90+% of comic shops tend to go under for lack of business, although that's certainly true. The other reality is that the customers are, if possible, even more demanding, opinionated, and rude than customers in other retail stores. Yeah, no, I've been to a few stores that are for like specifically D&D type stuff, any kind of like nerdy games, comics, things like that. And I've heard arguments of people between like standing in line. It's crazy. People get really, really passionate about these kinds of things. Making music. I know famous musicians that barely make enough money to get by. Yeah, no, I can personally tell you, trying to make it in the arts is tough. It's really difficult. You gotta keep on pressing, and you might succeed or you might fail. It's really nothing set in stone. I mean, it's a really depressing way to look at it, but honestly, that's the most honest way to look at it. Home improvement. As a hobby, you can take your time to do research, spread the cost, and do it right. As a profession, it's feast or famine. You're competing with every jerk with a pickup, and bids can be all over the place. You never know what you're going to bite into when you start a demo. Does this bathroom have 1 layer of wallboard or 4? Is there rot under this dishwasher? You want to give the best product to the customer, but the good enough meter is all over the place. What was the weirdest, oddest, most shocking thing you found when cleaning out the things of someone who passed on? A box labeled pins that don't work, full of pins that didn't work. I guess if Pop ever needed a pin that didn't work, you would know right where to find one. See, I love this idea. It's got the feeling of like someone reads the box and sees the words pins that don't work, and their mind's going to be like, oh, that's just nobody would keep pins that don't work, so that's just kind of a funny thing. So the pins clearly work. So they're going to take a pin out and try to use it, only to realize that the pins don't work. And they're going to have to sit there just thinking, what just happened? But then they can't get frustrated because they know they're the ones that picked up the pin. They read it and just assumed that it was lying. Personally, I just think that's a great prank in general. Grandma had a bunch of burnt pots and pans in her closet. She was trying to hide the fact that she was going senile and didn't know if it was okay to just throw them in the trash. Edit. She would also have me come over in high school to patch up the garage and car when she would clip the sides pulling in. As if I didn't then go home and tell my parents that she had hit the garage again. Day she died, she walked a mile on a treadmill, went shopping at the grocery store with her daughter, as we had taken the car by that point, made herself dinner, and went to bed. Yeah, watching the mind of a loved one go is really depressing. It happens to everyone, but never really expect it whenever it happens. I mean, the most you can hope for is that they just go out peacefully like this lady did. Go do your day, go home, go to sleep, and die peacefully. That's the way to go. He had a list of 100 names, 87 of which were crossed off with red ink. To this day, we don't know how he was connected to them or what it meant. Dude, that's a hit list. That man probably made some enemies throughout his life and just had to take care of them one by one. His only regrets up to the point of death was that he didn't get to finish killing all the other people on that list. Either that or it's a list of his graduating class and he's just wanting to be the last one alive. It's a little less dark, but also a little more dark. Found my grandpa's stash box with a setup for heroin and an antique vibrator made of brass, which I had to pick. I mean, I knew Grandpa used to party, but damn. Who the hell sees heroin and an antique vibrator and is like, damn, Grandpa's been partying? You know, I feel like I get it. Don't invite me to your party unless it's as rad as an antique vibrator and heroin. What can someone learn in 10 minutes that will be useful for the rest of their life? Captain Bloody Obvious says, learn to save up double the amount before you buy that desirable thing. Typically, this will leave you debt-free and said desirable object may be reduced in price. I know the post says will, but it may be reduced in price. Some places, like a car lot, will say, yeah, if you just pay for it all up front, we'll knock, $1,000 off the price. But if you say go to AT&T to get a cell phone, they're going to be like, okay, cool, you won't be on a contract because you buy it upright, but we're still going to charge you the full amount. Honestly, it really just depends on what industry you're speaking of buying from. Although not going into debt for it will have money-saving techniques of not having to pay interest. Changing tires. Just because you'll always find someone willing to help doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to rely on yourself. Yeah, that's one simple thing that anybody can learn very easily. It can especially save your life if you end up losing a tire whenever you're going down some country road where there's probably not going to be someone coming by for at least a couple of hours. But luckily, you don't have to be a mechanic to know how to change a tire. So when in doubt, learn to do it. It's always best. Learn to wear a seatbelt after an accident if they survive. Yeah, that should be changed to learn to wear a seatbelt before the accident, not after and if you survive. Just wear your seatbelt. It's literally one motion that can save your life. It doesn't matter if you think you're safe without a seatbelt. You're not. You're never safe without a seatbelt if you're in a moving vehicle. In that same vein, if you ride a bike, like motorcycle, whatever, wear your leathers, wear your helmet. Always. How to pick a lock. It'll open a lot of doors for you. See, I like this because it's decent advice, plus very good pun. Also, if you're going to learn how to pick a lock, use these powers for good, not for evil. Use them to get yourself back into your house or your car after you lock yourself out. Do not use it to go help yourself to your neighbor's new PlayStation 5. Or do. I'm not a cop. I'm the disembodied voice of a fat guy in California. I can't control your actions. You're on a first date with someone and they tell you the name of their favorite book. You immediately leave. What's the name of the book? Any book within the 50 Shades of Grey series. You know, I've never read these, but from what I've heard about them, they seem to just be poorly written smut, I guess? I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but from what I've heard, you can get better smut on Reddit. And trust me, they have a lot of subreddits just for that kind of thing. I can't think of a single book that would make me immediately leave, even if it was Mein Kampf. I'd have to hear why that specific book is their favorite book first. There might be a really good reason behind it. Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, if you can't judge a book by its cover, what makes you think that you can judge a person by what books they choose to read? So the trick is to find out why they like that book, and then leave the date. Makes it a lot better. The art of the deal. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you on that one. But my reason being that if they're willing to buy into that scam, then there's no chance that they're not going to be talking my ear off about how amazing the guy is. Yeah, hard pass. That's definitely worth leaving a date without even saying anything for. What job exists because we are stupid? Well, tutors for one. I mean, come on, if you can't learn your stuff in school, you have to hire somebody to teach you outside of it? Man, you are stupid. I don't know if it still exists, but I remember Best Buy offered a service that had consisted of sending someone to your house to do the incredibly difficult task of connecting your video game console to the TV. Yeah, there were people who paid for it. I mean, I'm pretty sure that video game consoles have instructions on how to hook it up to the TV. I don't know if they did it back when, but I know they do now. So if this is a more recent thing, that's just crazy stupid. I mean, a preschooler should be able to hook something up to the TV. I mean, back whenever it was the AV cables, you just match color to color. Now it's literally just stick the right shape in the right shape. These are literally things that we teach to preschoolers. As seen on TV products. Are you such an incompetent buffoon that you can't chop an onion without destroying your kitchen and having a complete mental breakdown? Introducing the Onion Slicer 3000! I know that I've achieved peak whiteness whenever I behave like a white family does in an infomercial. One day I hope to be so white that I can't do the simplest mundane task without screwing it up royally. I used to work in fraud prevention for a bank. Basically, if customers gave their card details to scammers or got scammed, we would help them try to recover the money. We also dealt with a lot of genuine customers whose payments were stopped for checks by the system. I wouldn't say the job wouldn't exist per se, but in a world where no one was careless with their bank details, the banks would require far fewer fraud staff team. There are a lot of jobs that are required because accidents can happen, but also half the time they deal with people's stupidity, like paramedics, EMTs, firefighters, insurance providers, poison control, road assistants, traffic police, etc. Yeah, no, that's probably very true. I wonder how full the medical system is of people that were just plain stupid, as opposed to people that were actually in accidents. Conversion camps sadly still exist. Oh, that's sad. Yeah. To those that don't know what a conversion camp is, basically, if you're gay and your parents live in the Bible Belt, they continue to a conversion camp where they pretty much, what they say is they convert you back to being straight, but what really happens is they mentally torture you until you eventually say, okay, fine, I'm not gay, and then you live the rest of your life in fear of what you are. So in layman terms, it's something that's very, very, very disgusting that should never have been legal in the first place. What made up stuff did your parents tell you when you were a child in order to correct your bad habits? My parents got me to wear a seatbelt by telling me that if I didn't and they had to hit the brakes, I'd hit my head on the seat in front of me and that would cause my brains to come out of my nose. They used to tell me about a kid in the next town over who hit his head on the seat in front of him and his brains came out of his nose and he died from it. Yes, this can actually happen though. Ha! Nice try, that guy's parents. I don't believe you for a second. Just trying to trick him over Reddit by pretending to be someone that knows what he's talking about. My parents told me that if I misbehaved, then a werewolf would climb through my window and beat the shit out of me in my sleep. In reality, it was just my dad in a werewolf costume with a baseball. Oh no. No, that took a dark turn. No, I don't like that at all. Fathers of the world, please don't beat your kids with baseball bats while wearing a werewolf costume. Also, just don't beat your kids with baseball bats in general. You wake up tomorrow and it's suddenly 2011. You have all the present knowledge of your life up until now, but no one else knows that you've gone back in time. What do you do differently, and what do you try to redo exactly the same? Buy Bitcoin. Yep, that's exactly what I would do. Buying Bitcoin at that point where it was, I think, maybe less than $200 a share. Just buy as much as you can over the next like 2-3 years until it starts shooting up. Keep buying, sell it out right before it dipped last week, or whenever Elon Musk went on to SNL. I mean, honestly, in 2011, if you would have put in, say, $2,000-$3,000 into Bitcoin whenever it was that low, by this year, you probably could have taken that, sold everything, and become more well off than you ever could have dreamed of. I would scream, there would be a pandemic in 2020, like a madman in the middle of a city. Yeah, no, that's a great idea to do too. I mean, think of it this way. If you're screaming that in the middle of the city, then people are going to start thinking you're crazy. Then you go to a bookie who takes very, very long-term bets, bet it at the highest possible odds you can. Say 1 to 100,000 odds that in 2020, the entire world is going to have to start wearing masks whenever they go out in public. Do that at like 1 to 100,000 odds. Boom, you bet $10, you're a millionaire by 2020. Alright, hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to come back throughout the week for more content. Please like and subscribe to help keep this channel going, and have a great week.